Hi guys, so when I was little, my dad showed me this indie Christian film called Thief in the Night, and it traumatized me. But it's always fun as you get older to go back and look at those things that traumatized you as a child and see if they're just as scary as you remember. So I looked up Thief in the Night on YouTube, and lo and behold, I found it, and it was only an hour long. So I decided to watch it and see if it holds up to be just as scary as I remember it when I was 7. Before we get into watching that movie with me, first, let's explore the history of this film. Thief in the Night was released in 1972 by Iowa-based filmmakers Russell Dowden and Donald W. Thompson, one of whom is credited to have worked on the 1958 horror movie The Blob. The two worked together wanting to make an apocalypse film based on their interpretation of the Book of Revelation in the Bible, which they pretty much reinterpreted as a horror film. The movie made over $4 million on a $68,000 budget, spawned 3 sequels, and according to Wikipedia has been described as traumatic for children who made up a significant part of its original audience. It's been criticized for using scare tactics to produce religious conversions. According to one source, evangelicals who grew up in the 1970s or early 1980s often cite Thief as a source of childhood terror. So going by this, it sounds like a pretty bleak film, but let's see if this Christian horror series holds up today. So the movie opens up with a black screen, a ticking clock, and a verse. It's a quote from Jesus, but look how they made it sound scary. "Don't let me find you sleeping." We then meet Patty, who's played by Patty, who finds that her husband has been taken away in the rapture. I want you to notice the filmmaking elements here, like the quick zoom in on reactions. These are filmmaking elements used in the 70s, primarily in horror movies. Then we get a sermon on the rapture where they play a song called "I Wish We'd All Been Ready" as the credits roll. The song goes long, and they will play this song many, many, many times throughout the film.
Life was filled with guns and war, and everyone got trampled on the floor.
We find we're in a flashback where Patty is at a carnival with her friends. One of her friends goes to talk to someone from the church, while the rest of them meet up with some interesting characters.
I'm Jerry.
I'm Diane.
And I'm Jim.
And I'm just dying to get on that midway.
Oh yes, and here is where we meet Jerry.
Welcome aboard the first fully automated flight. Every system has been thoroughly checked, and the entire flight is guaranteed not to fail.
I like you, sweetheart. Can't you see that? And I am the Antichrist.
Good. I was always a sucker for these.
I swear, this guy's mustache has been ingrained in my brain since I was 7 years old, but we'll find out why later. I was also wanting to mention the acting in the film. Some of it is fine, other parts of it not so great.
I'll say one thing, anybody that's left here is going to need it.
If you really believe that, you couldn't even look at your watch without wondering if it was going to happen now.
Yeah.
But hey, it is better acting than I've seen in most Christian films these days.
You used to be with the Knights owner.
We're not playing the Knights.
Scott, are you trying out? Aren't you like 40?
The movie goes on and we see the group of friends going about their lives while often hearing sermons about the end of times. Because of this, I was actually bored throughout most of the movie. The movie is only an hour long, like I said, but so much is taken up by the writers giving sermons into the movie and repeating them. This is what I would say is the problem with most Christian media, is that they come off as sermons rather than actual stories. Even the dialogue of the characters feels like them just reading off of a sermon, and obviously that's going to make everything feel unnatural. Really, as I watch the movie, it feels like the only things they get really, really right are the horror elements, but once again, we'll get to that later. Eventually in the film, the plot picks up and we see Patty's boyfriend at his job where he works with a lot of dangerous animals. And we get a scene where it seems that the editor finally figured out how to do transitions, but the results are disastrous. I'm just gonna play the clip for you in full. I died when I first saw this scene. I was completely dead when I saw this. Then you see him taken away in an ambulance and Jerry's the paramedic. Jerry's over there pumping him full of laughing gas.
Now you just kind of hang in there, son. We got the best doctors in the country lined up and twiddling their thumbs waiting till you get there.
So Jerry is rescued by a man who had been bitten by an Indian cobra several times. Then he goes and visits the church to thank the person who prayed for him, where a sermon is coincidentally being given about the end times.
Found his pajama tops and was immediately convinced that the rapture had taken place and that she had been left behind.
Mom, I'm home. Mom? 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 Mom?
This is before they invented the part in the Left Behind movies where kids will go to heaven no matter what. So meanwhile, Patty and Jim get married, and oh my goodness, Jerry's the wedding driver. Then we get a montage of Jim and Patty's married life, sitting at the table, standing, sitting, looking at photos, sitting at the table, talking on a phone with no cord. Jim becomes a Christian in between this time. Despite he and Patty getting married, apparently they never discussed each other's beliefs.
I mean, I'm good. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I'm as good as the next person. Maybe better.
But then the rapture finally happens. We're back to the horror scene we saw at the beginning. So Patty's been left behind. No, that's another series. They really rushed the story now. Immediately the government, who look a lot like Nazis, require everyone to get a computer chip, aka the mark, in order to function in society.
Back of the hand or forehead?
Will it wash off?
No, it's permanent.
Patty, despite knowing there is no hope for her, still does not want to comply. She eventually runs from her house to evade the police, coming across one of the pastors from earlier in the movie who has also been left behind.
You don't have the mark?
I had it in my heart before it ever happened.
That's not good enough. Let's go.
You.
So this next scene definitely messed me up as a kid. A nice police warden talks to Patty about getting her some help.
Look, I'm not that stupid. I know that's a computer readout for 666.
Well, your Reverend Turner doesn't believe that. He's come to see that this terrible evil doesn't exist.
Reverend Turner?
Certainly, we talked to him earlier this morning, and he's come to see that joining us is really in everyone's best and good interest.
Yeah, trust me, the deceptively nice warden and the quick close-up of the bleeding out murdered pastor horrified me as a kid. What we get next is a lengthy sequence of Patty running from the police, eventually stealing a car and calling her friend Diane for help. Diane happens to be the wife of Jerry. But this is me also explaining this to you so you understand. If you watch it in the actual movie, it's really confusing. But basically, Diane mysteriously wants Patty to meet her at the dam that they used to hang out at earlier. So we once again get a long chase sequence of Patty on her way. We also get to hear the song again.
The sun has come and you've been left behind. There's no time to change your mind. How could you have been so blind?
So then we get to the finale of the film, where Patty finally meets Diane at the dam when...
Okay, all units, we've got her safe in our arms.
Diane is there with Jerry. They not only are dressed as hippies and have creepy smiles on, but they have the mark. Jerry comes after Patty, but I don't know what's scarier, Jerry or his white shorts. Now this scene is the thing that messed me up the most, and once again it's an example of how the horror elements are the most competent thing in the movie.
And these there will beware.
We get the quick close-ups of Jerry's evil face and that mustache. We get the frantic camera angles, the Dutch angles, the character looking around, seeing that there's absolutely no escape.
There will be no place to hide.
Only to have a POV shot falling into the dam to her death. Pretty gnarly stuff in an otherwise badly made movie. It was all a dream. So there has to be some hope, right? Patty wakes up and sees that this is all a dream.
Reports keep coming in from all over the globe confirming it as true. The event seems to have taken place at the same time all over the world. Without warning, literally
No, it actually all happened.
Of course, even if it is something like the rapture, we need not panic. The very fact that we are here and able to discuss it is sign enough that it is not all-inclusive. End of quotation. The events.
Now, I really think that they hired this girl because of her ability to scream, but I think that the director was asking a little bit too much for once. First she's crying, then she's screaming in terror and anger, and then she's crying again. It's like, it's not a nuanced emotion. It's just telling actor to do one thing and then do another thing, you know, not really knowing how to convey all of this at once. Still, I do think that this is kind of an effective horror trope. Like, you have it kind of ingrained in the audience's mind, this kind of horrific event where everybody disappears. That's how the movie opens. We go back to that in the middle of it, and then we finally circle back to it by the very end once you think it's all over. You just keep coming back to this horrifying event. Before we leave the movie, we get more creepy, ominous text.
And the purpose of this broadcast will be to assess the worldwide situation and establish methods and procedures in handling possible problems and danger facing the world as we know it today.
And my nightmares were haunted for months. Well, that miserable ending would be it for the video, except for this movie was so successful, Thompson went on to make a sequel, A Distant Thunder. Which, I don't know why it's called that. I honestly didn't watch the whole thing. It's only an hour long once again, but like the first movie, it's mostly the characters' dialogue becoming sermons rather than actual dialogue.
They're talking about the second coming, when Christ comes back to earth after the tribulation to reign for 1,000 years. He doesn't look mean, he's beautiful.
Basically, it starts with Patty's head literally being on the chopping block and her recapping who it was she thinks gave her up.
Patty! Where have you been? We've called. We've come over, no one's ever home. Why didn't you call us?
I'm sorry, Diane.
Patty, did we do something?
You might think that this is silly, but I had a terrible dream. You were going to help me, but you had the mark of the beast.
The mark of the beast?
At the end of my dream, you pushed me off.
But Patty, it was only a stupid dream.
This is funny. You getting angry at us over a dream?
After all these years, I get to see that Jerry isn't such a bad guy after all. I think my nightmares can finally be put to rest. Patty becomes friends with two girls who team up for Bible study and try to get food and gas for themselves. Eventually, when the mark comes into play, Patty calls Diane again to get some food for her. Once again, Jerry's a good guy. I don't need to worry about him anymore. Just a nice guy with a huge 70s mustache and white shorts. But alas, all is not well for Patty. She ends up getting caught, just as we saw in the beginning of the film, in a very hilarious chase sequence.
How you work this thing anyway?
Patty undergoes the same phone booth scene again. And this looks familiar.
Hello, Diane. This is Patty. I need help. Yes. Why there?
Why did I have to come here? We feel that for your own physical and spiritual welfare, that you should take the mark.
No. No. Jerry really is evil. He really is this evil smiling guy. The nightmares. They're coming back. They're coming back.
Patty!
Where do you think you're going, young lady?
So Patty and the other girls are going to be executed via guillotine. I don't know why the filmmakers wanted to use the guillotine. They got rid of that centuries ago when they realized it wasn't actually a good way to kill people. It also seems that the budget was really slashed for this movie because most of it has been taking place in a church, and even the execution scene is outside of a church on a nice sunny day. A nice bright sunny day for an execution. But we get to see Patty's actual betrayer.
Sandy! Sandy! Oh, Sandy! You're a Christian!
Oh, Patty, anybody can say they're a Christian.
And is truly the living Son of God. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God.
Yet another ending that was used a lot in the 70s of freezing a scary image to end the movie. So we have 2 movies in a row now that really have a despairing atmosphere. Is there any hope for Patty? She's our protagonist, and it seems that she should be on a path to redemption, right? Well, we get our answer in the 3rd movie, Image of the Beast. We pick up with Patty where we last left off. She's about to be slaughtered, but she's still on the fence on which side she should take. Is Thompson finally going to give Patty her redemption that I think that we've well earned by now? Well, just watch this. I don't know why Thompson hated Patty so much. I don't know if she had done something to him in real life. I don't know. It seems like a really miserable series to me, one that chooses to wallow in the despair of characters rather than give any hope for the future. Also, there's the fact that this is all the director's interpretation of the book of Revelation, and he's really presenting it to people as fact. The fact that this is really a Christian horror movie presented to kids as fact really does not sit well with me. I don't think that kids need to be scared into believing anything. And I might have had less nightmares as a child if I hadn't seen this movie at all. But what do I know? People took Thompson's fictionalized view of the Book of Revelation and spun it into a lot of other successful Christian films, like the Left Behind series. You know, the apocalypse Christian films about the end times is really a booming market. I even saw another Left Behind movie coming out in select theaters soon. But as for me, I finally got closure on my childhood trauma. What did you guys think of the Left Behind? I mean, the Thief in the Night series. And what are some of the obscure movies that scared you as a kid? Write to me about them in the comments below. And if you want to check out some of my own short films, then there is a playlist you can click on in the description. Please check that out. Also, if you want to support what I'm doing on this channel, please check out my Patreon and follow me on social media. Also, those links are in the description. So thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.
There's no time to change your mind. How